Welcome to the Lovestead.
Hello, welcome back to Lady Lovestead Reads. My name is Jessica and this is a reading vlog. I am currently reading Motherthing by Ainsley Hogarth. This is the book pick for the Midnight Society Book Club, which is run and hosted by Elizabeth at Readingwryly. And this is about a woman whose mother-in-law kills herself. That's not a spoiler, it's on the back of the book. And her husband goes into like this deep depression, and then he's saying that the ghost of the mother-in-law is in the house. So far, the main character has only like seen or felt the presence of the ghost when she is wasted, drunk. And really, I mean, that's the premise, but that's not really what this book is about. I feel like the ghost story plot is just there so that these bigger ideas can be discussed. So ideas of grief, mental illness, womanhood, personhood, marriage, feminism, women's roles, women's rights. That's really the focus of the book. The plot is just there so that the writer can execute those ideas, basically. The writing is absolutely stunning, impressive, brilliant writing. It's very slow, very, very slow, very slow. I'm halfway through and really not much at all has happened. You have to go into this book just for the prose, really. It's one of those books that's mostly vibes and ideas and characters. Not a lot of plot or action, like very little plot or action. But the ideas being discussed are really, really interesting, and it's done in a very intelligent way. It is a heavy book. The topics are heavy, the language is heavy, the imagery is heavy. It's heavy. And it was starting to mess with my own mental health a little bit last week, so I had to take a break from it. And so I did pick up another book called Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. And this is a contemporary romance. It's an age gap romance where the woman is older than the man. Basically what happens is there's an Iowa reference. So the main character is driving back from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where she had to attend her great aunt's funeral. On her way back from the funeral, her car breaks down, or like she runs into a ditch or something, and this guy pulls her out, and he ends up being the love interest. And I didn't make it too far into that. I made it about 30 pages in, and that's about as far as I'm in. They have like this one night stand, and then she runs away and just leaves them. And so that's where I'm at with that book. I mean, so far I'm enjoying it. It's an easy read. It's not something you have to think too much about. So it's a good palate cleanser from reading this. And then on audiobook, I'm trying to finish up the middle grade contemporary called Front Desk by Kelly Yang. And this is just a slice of life story about a young girl and her family who run a hotel in California. And they are immigrants. They immigrated from China. And it just talks about the struggles that they have, the challenges they face with racism, economic hardships, exploitation of immigrants, using immigrants as essentially slave labor, and you know, things within that realm. So that's where we're at with reading. It's really late here Wednesday night, but I wanted to check in with you because I haven't for a while. So Pippi, my little kitten, got spayed Monday morning, and I brought her home Tuesday evening, and pretty much all of Tuesday evening I just was like snuggling her because she just was not feeling good. She's back to her normal self now. I think she's gonna jump. Yep, there she is. Jumped up on my chair here. So she's doing better today, but she was quite droopy yesterday. Little Miss Droopy Drawers. So I didn't get a lot of reading done because I was really just focused on taking care of my baby. She's clearly feeling better. But have made a little bit of progress since I first checked in. When was that? Monday. So like Monday I finished Front Desk by Kelly Yang. I gave it 5 stars. So it does such a good job of addressing a lot of really big issues in a way that a middle grade audience can easily digest, but that adult readers can also appreciate. The characters are really wonderful. There's a lot of important lessons and ideas. And it just, I mean, it's a 5-star read. It's a 5-star contemporary middle grade. I really, really liked it. I also really liked hearing because I listened to it on audiobook, I liked hearing the author's note at the end, because Kelly Yang explains that a lot of the scenes from that book were things that she actually experienced, and she points out like which things from the book were parts of her real life experience, and it just makes the story like that much more powerful, that some of those things really did happen to her and to her family. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. 5 stars. I've had such a good reading year so far. It's making me really happy to be reading all these really good books, because in the last vlog, my first read of 2023 was Horrid by Katrina Leno, and that was a 4-star read. Really loved that. I think that this will end up being a 4-star. So I'm like 3/4 of the way through it. And it is very slow. I might have mentioned this in my first check-in, that the beginning starts out and things kind of happen fairly quickly, actually. Like the mother-in-law unalives herself right away, and that's not a spoiler because it's on the back of the book. But then things kind of just slow down, and it's a very sloggy read in terms of the plot. But the prose is still just so gorgeous, and it's such a thoughtful, philosophical, literary horror. The imagery in here is really horrifying, even though there's not much happening in terms of plot. The way that the writer describes different things and her thought processes, there's a lot of like gory horror imagery and symbolism in it. Which I can appreciate. I am still really liking it. It's, as I said in my last vlog, it is quite heavy. So I've been doing every other day reading this one. And on the days when I'm not reading this, I'm reading Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. And according to my percentage on Goodreads, I'm about 30% of the way through that one. And it's an okay read. I'm not disliking it, but it's also not blowing me away. It's put downable, I guess is one way to say it. Like I can put it down and not think a whole lot about it. Maybe it will get better. We'll see. But as of now, that's just a very middle of the road, fine book to pass the time kind of a read, which is fine. There's a need for those. But it's like a 3-star right now. And I don't think 3 stars are bad books. 3 stars are like books that you read to pass the time, you know? But they're usually not books that stick with me. And so far, that's at like a 3-star level. That's where I'm at with my reading. And I mean, this week has been good. It's been really busy in a good way. like, you know, Pippi getting her spay, doing better. Um, she's so chewy. She's still teething. Like, she hasn't quite gotten her big girl teeth yet. And Monday I got to spend some time with my horse Doll. I didn't get any footage because I was just like so in the moment, and I was, you know, in the arena with some other friends and their horses, and it was just a really good evening. I've got some freelance projects that I've been working on. I've been trying to do some cleaning around the house. My cat Elle is sick. I don't really know what's going on with him. He's at the vet, and I'll give you more details about him once I just know what's happening. But he's currently at the kitty hospital, which is a bummer. All three of my older cats just have been really struggling lately. They're all 13 years old and just having old kitty problems, you know, and that's just part of it. It's part of being a pet owner, especially as they get older. But I was really bummed out because I took Ellen when I was picking up Pippi. And so I basically just traded out cats, right? Picked up Pippi and brought her home and left Elle there so they could run some tests and stuff. So I was really bummed about that yesterday. Like, I hope he's okay. Like I said, I don't really know what's going on with him or what's wrong with him. I just know he's not well. So keep him in your thoughts. Pie and Cherry, the kitty cats, they are both home and doing all right. So they both had good appointments at their last appointment. Like, Cherry's weight is up and Pie's urine was clear. So like they're doing better. Now we just have to get my boy better. Dogs are doing fine. Birds are doing fine. Horses are fine. Chickens are fine. Boy, am I thankful I have chickens right now. Have you seen the price of eggs? Goldfish are doing what the goldfish do. Axolotls as well. The goldfish and axolotls, I've mentioned this before. I had some issue with my water a while back, and they just never really fully bounced back from that. So I've refrained from really giving you a whole lot of footage of those critters, just because PetTube, like pet people on YouTube, can be absolutely brutal. And so, like, if I were to show an axolotl with its gills not perfect, I would be just asking for abuse online, basically. So they're here, they're alive. From what I can tell, they are well. I just think whatever happened with my water system when that happened, they're just never gonna fully bounce back. So until I have a group of goldfish and axolotls that I can say are fully healthy, I probably just will not be sharing them with you. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, really, that's my life. That's my life, really. It's work, critters, and books. Ella's home, and he's got a urinary tract infection. So he's just a little bit droopy. Yep, just a little bit droopy. He's on some good antibiotics, so hopefully that will clear it up. Hello, BookTube. Lots to catch you up on. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the vlog in this clip. I didn't film a whole lot over the weekend, and then Monday was Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so I had work off. And honestly, I was not feeling good at all. I got some meds from my doctor. I actually went to the doctor. Like, I don't usually go to the doctor. Usually I just write it out, but I actually went to the doctor this week. And so yeah, I just was spending the weekend resting and trying to recover from not feeling well. And I didn't really film, but I did read. So I finished Motherthing by Ainsley Hogarth. I gave this 4 stars. This was a fantastic book in terms of the prose and the language and the writing. There's so many big ideas discussed here, so many layers, so much symbolism. Someone could truly write a master's thesis on this book because there's just so much there to dissect and break down and figure out and analyze. This is a book that will probably take 3 or 4 rereads, before I fully grasp absolutely everything that was covered in here, before I fully put all the pieces together, before I can, just make complete sense of it and really get like a true understanding of what Hogarth is trying to say in this novel. There's so much there. I keep saying that just because there's just a lot. And it's not a huge book. It's like 280 pages, so about an average length book, but she packs so much into it. And it's interesting because not a lot happens in the plot, but there's still like so many layers. And she's just a very, very talented writer. For me, it was a 4-star read because it was a little too slow for me and a little too heavy-handed. Exactly, Diego. Okay, got it. That's what Diego thinks. He wants to give his opinions too. Okay, I think he's finished now. What was I saying? Oh, it was a little bit too slow for me and a little too heavy-handed on the philosophy, where it was kind of getting shoved down our throats a little bit, like all of the ideas that Hogarth wanted to cover. Pippi is getting into her hidey hole. The birds are being very chatty. It's just one of those days. So my roommate did move out, but I haven't moved the birds yet because I moved them for like a day and then I missed them. Make it make sense. Yeah, so that was a 4-star read. I also finished Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This was a 3-star. I was hoping at some point I'd be able to bump it up to a 4-star, but it just didn't quite get there for me. So this book does a really good job of talking about abuse in relationships, especially the psychological aspects of abuse, the emotional side of abuse, how abuse doesn't have to include physical violence for it to be considered abuse. You know, there's control, manipulation, insults. There are a lot of ways that someone can psychologically abuse their partner. And this book does a really good job examining that and breaking it down and not victim blaming and really going into like what happens to us when we're in a situation like that. And there's a quote in there somewhere. I had to return it to the library, but somewhere in there about how like Allie, the main character, is smart. She's brilliant. She's like this brilliant doctor, but she still gets hooked into this abusive situation. And it talks about how, like, it doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how smart you are because abusers have ways of getting under anyone's skin. They're expert manipulators. And the way that it happens so slowly and so subtly, you don't even realize it's happening until you're in a really bad place. And I appreciated that immensely because it's something that I personally have struggled with. Like, I consider myself slightly above average intelligence. Not much above average, but slightly above average. I consider myself a decently smart person. And I still have been victim to this kind of abuse repeatedly. And so that idea of like, I should have known better has always come back and haunted me for those situations. And I really like the way that this book put that into perspective, that it doesn't matter how smart you are. It happens. It happens to everybody at all intelligence levels, at all walks of life, all incomes, etc. Another thing that I really liked about the conversations around abuse was how it talked about how emotional abuse is passed down through generations and families, much in the same way that physical violence is passed down through generations and families. So it's like that traditional cycle of abuse. And I thought that was really well done, really well explained. Now, the reason it only got a 3-star for me is a couple of different things. One, it was too long. This book was 400 pages. It didn't need to be 400 pages. There were parts where I was just like, okay, skim, 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 skim. There's a lot in here that just didn't feel important, and it was very, very repetitive. Daniel, the love interest, is just too perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with him. He's literally the perfect man. I don't think Daniel is someone who would actually exist in real life. And for me, it was painful to read about a guy like Daniel, because I honestly don't think I'll ever find a guy like Daniel, because I don't think Daniel exists in the real world. Like, he's too perfect. And then the third thing was this small town, Wakan, where Daniel lives, is portrayed as like everybody in the town supports each other, everyone loves each other, they all come together for each other, they help each other out. I grew up in a small town and it is not like that. They did sometimes come together to help each other out, but it wasn't always for the right reasons. There was a lot of politics in a small town. This small town in the book, Wakan, was like a utopia where just everybody loves each other so much and they're like a big family. Not dysfunctional family either, highly functional, healthy family. And small towns aren't like that. They are a cross-section of any other community in the United States. There's classism, racism, sexism, homophobia in small towns. There are people who are good people. There are people who are crappy people. There are people who are users and abusers. There are people who are wonderful, supportive, beautiful people. Like, it's just like any other place where, you know, there are not great people in small towns, just like there are anywhere else. And like this town of Wakan, there's like maybe one person who's not a great person and they kick him out. Like, it just, it didn't feel real. Like, those parts of the book just felt like so unrealistic, and in a sense it became painful to read about them because they're never going to find that. Like, no person on earth is going to find a community like that. They don't exist. No one's going to find a man like Daniel. They don't exist, at least in my opinion. And in my review of this on Goodreads, I said, am I bitter and unhealed? Maybe. I mean, maybe that's part of it. I am a little bit bitter, a little bit jaded, a little unhealed. But that was my experience reading the book. And I always want to share with you my honest experience. So that was that one, 3 stars. And then I picked up a novella called Freaks by Tess Gerritsen. This is book 8.5 in the Rizzoli and Isles series. This is a very short one. It's more of a short story even than it is a novella. 30 pages. It's only 30 pages. And it's very vampire themed and very gothic and just a fun time. I enjoyed it. It's nothing to write home about. You know, it's clear that, like, Tess Gerritsen knew that should be a short story instead of a novel. Like, I don't think she could have stretched that one out and made it a decent novel, so I'm glad it stayed a short story. It's a fun little read, a fun little dip into these characters' world, and I gave it 3 stars. So that was my week of reading for you. I read Front Desk and gave it 5 stars, Motherthing and gave it 4 stars. What were the other? See, I'm already forgetting this romance, okay? Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, 3 stars, and Freaks, and gave it 3 stars. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. Hopefully in the next one I'll get a little bit more interesting life stuff to share with you. I won't be feeling as crappy next week. That is the goal. If you just want to leave me an emoji to let me know you're here, leave me a ghost emoji, since this book is about a ghost. And until next time, make sure that you continue to read good books, drink good coffee, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye!